Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. You should have a talk about Linux projects such as a distribution, desktop environment, or application. We chat about the news or any variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table of discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. And with me today, I've got a fantastic panel of people on this News Flight Early Edition hybrid for this July 4th. It's Mark, you, Warthunder, Zebedee Boss, GNU to Linux, and Mike Chilson. How is everybody?
Yeah, doing okay, thank you.
Good. We had Dale was in here a little bit ago, but then he froze and disappeared. So I don't know if I said something he didn't like, but I'm hoping he comes back. I mean, I say lots of things people don't like, I'm sure. So
I'm sure he has Snapper set up. He'll just roll back and be back in a while.
I need to share my screen here, which now you can all see what I'm doing here. Look at that. Okay. So unprofessional, but here we are. It's me. Oh, Eric just popped in. That's great. Fantastic. So if you'd be so kind as to hit that little like button right there, make it light up. And better yet, you can join us on Discord. Provide your voice. You can also subscribe if you're feeling so inclined. Also, be sure to do the straw poll, cubiclenate.com/polls. It's about fonts. So if you want to check that out, be sure to check that out today. On the docket for today, we got a special early edition News Flight not night, because it's News Flight night, as it's an alliteration, but News Flight midday doesn't really quite have that same flow. That's okay. And so we got a variety of topics from the news, from open source and tech news that I think might be of interest. But first we get to that, I was going to talk to Dale about a video that he published about AGMA versus YAST, but I guess technical problems. So I guess Warthunder, you were chatting up about some projects you got going on, and so now you're in the hot seat. Sorry about that. Not sorry. Do share.
Yeah, I've had a couple different projects going on around here. I've got, apologies for my desk, but I have a Shuttle X PC right here I've been working on. That I'm trying to put my old gaming PC into. It's a little ITX system. As you probably may or may not know, Shuttle didn't use ITX until later models, so that is a very interesting I don't even know how to English right now. A mishmash of different parts. So I get to use my 3D printer to 3D print probably a back for it and some adapters and stuff. The main thing I did, because it's been so hot here in the Midwest, because for some reason it's decided to be 115 degrees at my house instead of like 90, is my Sim Rig here that I'm coming from today. I've had a couple upgrades. I was telling Zeeb that I swapped the 2007 TV
For the folks
out.
at home in the cheap seats, what is a sim rig?
A sim rig, in this particular case, is a PC steering wheel and pedals and whatnot that you would use to play racing games. The idea is to kind of simulate being able to sit in the cockpit of a car and drive it. I do it for a lot of racing games. I've got IndyCar games, NASCAR games. I've got normal racing games. Arcade games, because I grew up with yes, I hear my wife in the other room yelling Daytona, because that's the main reason I set this thing up all those years ago. So that's what its main purpose was.
She can join the stream too if she would like. She doesn't have to yell from the other room. She's more than welcome to give you a hard time on YouTube.
She doesn't need to have YouTube to give me a hard time, Nate.
Well, I mean, for our entertainment, I'm sure you're entertained by this, but I'm talking about for the rest of us. You know, we like a good, something.
I will see. But anyway, it's been so hot here that I can't always run this PC here. So this PC is an older build. It's basically leftover scrap parts that I have from previous PC builds and stuff between me and my wife.
My favorite kind.
It is So it is my motherboard that used to be my main motherboard. It is an i5-6500, a Nvidia GeForce GTX 970, which it might get my 1070 that's up there. I'm not sure. Although I kind of want to display that one because that's an EVGA card. EVGA doesn't make cards anymore, so it's almost a museum piece now. Um, and anyway, it's not too bad. It plays most games all right. You get 1080p games in here, but this produces a lot of heat. And right now it is 77 degrees in here, and it's only going to get worse as time goes on. So I also bought at one point a PlayStation 3. I got it really cheap. It's like $30. And at the time, there wasn't really anything wrong with it. It was just on its own. Somebody had taken it apart, didn't do a good job putting it back together. So I've gone through it and whatnot. Up until last week, and I don't even know where I put it. Here it is. It was running on this 2009 hard drive, the original factory drive from Sony, which decided last week to have the click of death. And it booted up after I got this new TV in here and was like, I can't find the operating system. Could you provide that for me? So I had to swap it to an SSD. I had a spare one in my drawer and get it reloaded back up and everything. So that was all fun.
Nice. So if I may just take your 73 and I'll raise you to 87 in my office at the moment. We're having a little mini heat wave again in the UK.
Oof. It's not fun anywhere with that.
No. Except I bet you've got aircon somewhere.
We have a mini split in the main part of the house, and then my wife has a portable in her office to try and help my office here not be so unbearable. But she put a thermometer for fun that has Celsius and Fahrenheit on the deck, just laid it out in the sun. And I think it said almost 45 Celsius on the deck in the sun. Somewhere around 135 degrees, somewhere in there. Like I was trying to read it from the window. It's pretty brutal.
And I joined today because it's very hot in Atlanta.
In Hotlanta.
In Hotlanta. So I was like, well, I saw the Linux Saloons on early. I was like, no better time than the present.
115 degrees. 115 degrees Thursday.
Well, I guess I'm the lucky one here.
Like. And that's not the feels like.
I live by Lake Michigan, like I'm a mile-ish from the coast. So the air here is 73 degrees right now. And my house is actually at a comfy 74. I like to, skimp out on bills as much as possible. I'm cheap. So.
I mean, if you get too hot, though, you can just go, dip your toes in the lake and cool off.
I can. In fact, the lake is so cold still that I will not go in it. I am a wussy puff about being cold.
Well, surely then you can do one of those like ice bowl, whatever they call them, challenges, and just take all your mobile webcam unit and jump in the lake for us.
So I think that those people who do that are certifiably insane. I mean, if you like it, sure, it's fine. You can have bad opinions. We live in a free country, but I'm not doing that. Not at all.
I'll give it a go once. I just need to get somewhere that's got a cold enough area.
Well, Lake Michigan right now, I'm sure Lake Superior still has ice on it at this time of year. I'm sure. But that's it. Anyway, so that was total derail. I apologize. Warthunder. The operating system you're using on that machine, what are you using to play these games? What do you use for that? Do you have like a gaming system, or is it Windows?
So I've had a couple different ones over the years. When I first built this, it was Windows. I had Bazite for a while. Fortunately, Bazite doesn't play nice with older NVIDIA cards. Like if you've got one of the newer ones with the open NVIDIA drivers, it works okay. But both the cards I have here just don't play nice. And in fact, I found the hard way on this system. I got a system update and I booted to a black screen. And when I went to forums, they're like, oh yeah, it's because we don't support the old DKMS drivers anymore. Just get a different card and you'll be fine. And I'm like, but this one works, So right now I've got Linux Mint Debian Edition, which is what I put on a lot of my other non-production stuff because it's pretty low maintenance. The Debian drivers are pretty locked in at this point. I think I'm on like the 550 drivers. In fact, I could actually check for you. 550.163. and they're rock solid stable. It games just fine. The only bug I've had in setting the system back up is I don't know what it's called. It's the Fergus. I don't know how you pronounce it. Launcher won't open, which is a weird bug. I haven't figured out what yet. I was going to submit something back to the devs on that one, but I've got, in case someone wants to know, Oversteer is an excellent app if you're trying to use these racing wheels on Linux. It will let you set all the parameters the wheel can do, the force feedback, the button layouts, so like this is a 960-degree wheel, and that app will let me, so like specifically like Daytona USA, if you're playing the arcade version, only expects a 270-degree wheel. So your option is to get really good at doing this, or you can hard set in the firmware with that app, hey, only show 270 degrees of freedom, and then it will apply a brake, stop the wheel from going too far. So that kind of thing. It's cool stuff. I used to go to the arcades myself, and I only built this because where do you go to an arcade these days? Like, the closest one to me is like multiple hours away, and you got to pay per hour to be in there. And
there's I'm fortunate. There's actually an arcade not too far from me. It's 15-minute drive ish, and I mean, they used to have one like in, at the pizza joint in town here, but that's when I was little. Although actually, I did talk to the pizza joint owner, and he said if he knew somebody that could get arcade machines in there, he would have them again. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I've only got one. I wonder if I can get a few more. Anyway, that aside, that's really cool. Now, I'm curious, with the Linux Mint Debian edition, are you able to like kind of hold back then and use those older drivers then without any problems? Is that what you're able to do? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just install the drivers directly from Debian on this system. You can, like, if you need newer drivers, there is a Debian-specific NVIDIA repository that you can install and get slightly newer drivers. But honestly, ever since 550, a lot of these cards, like this one's an older one, run rock solid on the old drivers, and it doesn't bother me. I'm not here to capture, like, the 100th percentile or 99th percentile performance. If I install the drivers, it works, the game plays at a reasonable frame rate, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. And something like this, one of the games I play the most on here other than Daytona is Wreckfest. And that runs on this 1080p, 60 FPS all day long, and that's all I care about at that point.
Yeah, I think that's that's kind of the rub, I think. I know progress, push technology forward, things like that. I get all that, but it does seem like more so with NVIDIA, the cards have a more pronounced shelf life, as it were. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very unfortunate because they still have good compute power. They still will technically do the job, but they're basically being hamstrung to not do it. And I think that's kind of unfortunate. And it would be nice if, and I don't know, maybe it is possible, but it'd be nice if they could almost have like branch something like a Debian or whatever to be used for older hardware like that without, but still getting the security updates. Maybe I'm not thinking this correctly. I'm sure Mark probably knows exactly what needs to be done because he seems to know just about everything. But I'm kind of really wondering if that's even a possibility, because like, as much as I love Tumbleweed, sometimes old things are just left in the dust. Sometimes, except for,
I'm pretty sure MX Linux looks after the old stuff as well, because that's Debian based.
Yep, they do a lot of patches for. So, like as an example, I have two laptops. I have three laptops that are affected by this. They're older Quadros that run on the 390 driver, and yeah, MX actually pulls in the patches from Debian SID, where those drivers still work, but Ubuntu and Debian proper took those out of the repos for security reasons. And I'm sure there probably was, but like, I'm running 15-year-old hardware doing little things here. I don't necessarily care about security. I'm behind my own firewall here. If you get onto my network that far, here, have the keys. Like, you've already impressed me if you've gotten that far, so I kind of just want to keep using my hardware, and Nouveau just isn't quite there yet on some of the old hardware.
And from a security perspective also, and I could be wrong on this, I'm not a cybersecurity expert, I just have to dabble in that area from time to time. but you're not running it in an enterprise. There's really no risk. I mean, if you're using it as a gaming machine, an entertainment machine, it's not really at risk of losing your PII or anything like that, assuming. So, and then how many people are actually still running those cards is an even smaller subset of people. And so like the actual threat, the threat exposure is really pretty small anyway. So someone would have to really be looking for you on that machine. So I don't know, I just
on a public network somewhere, like I wouldn't personally like take these old ThinkPads out onto the public net with those outdated drivers. But here inside my own firewall, I feel like I'm protected. I run a pretty decent security here, so I feel like I'm fine. I mean, even my brother has a weird thing where he won't run things that are more than 2 or 3 years old out on public Wi-Fi and whatnot. Like he'll try and keep them contained as much as possible. I don't necessarily care about that. I mean, I have an old MacBook Air. It's like a 2011. But I put a battery in it and I take it out to, I've gone out and gone places to eat or sit at a cafe or whatnot and just type up things. But like, if I get compromised on that device, the only thing you're going to get is maybe my YouTube playlist.
Ooh,
and if you're entertained by that, I guess, there you go. But you're not going to end up with a whole lot. That's why I don't worry about it.
Yeah. Now, what's the risk? Anyway, well, that's very cool. The what was the processor again in your Sim Rig? I now have lost it.
It's a 6th gen. It's an i5 6500.
Okay. It doesn't. I mean,
it's from an old HP workstation.
I think that's modern enough still for a lot of things.
It's 4 cores.
Mm-hmm. You can definitely Minecraft with that.
Yeah. The only thing I will say that it and the 7700K that's in that shuttle PC, when you start compiling Vulkan shaders, I miss having more cores when those start happening, but I don't have to do that too often.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get it. Well, cool. No, that's neat. That's a neat project. And thanks for sharing that. And so I guess, wait, is it fully operational now, or are you kind of in the process of still getting it fully?
I would call it 99% operational right now because I finished this morning. I paused Steam because I'm installing games and stuff on it. Mm-hmm. I slotted in an old 1 terabyte hard drive to store some of the games and stuff on it. Like I downloaded Forza Horizon 5 this morning and a few others to put on there. So I'm still installing games, but all the hardware related things are working.
Cool.
And I'm talking to you on it, so clearly the video card works. Especially after I made the mistake of not checking my cable management and I fired it up, and I kept hearing this every time I fired it up, and the GPU fan was clipping one of the 8-pin cables.
Nice. Nothing can go wrong with that.
That's probably fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Just turn up your music a little bit louder. It'll work out. Well, cool. I still wanted to get to Dale before I got to the news flight because I did say so Dale, a couple 2 days ago I think it was, you released a video on, because this subject is near and dear to my heart. That's because it's OpenSUSE related. So the Agma versus the YAST installer for setting up a machine. Now, so you gave a lot of caveats about, you only do it once before, how often do you actually install for a new machine? I mean, unless you're playing a lot, probably not very often.
Unless you're me and you break it a lot.
Right, or me, and you like to see what things you can just, shoehorn OpenSUSE onto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or Tumbleweed, rather. So explain, I guess, so maybe do like a real quick, it was a comparison video. You were actually timing it between the Agma install, which is the new OpenSUSE installer, and then and YAST. And so I guess, I don't know if you want to maybe kind of go from there on some of the details.
In a nutshell, the Agma installer finished it, was it 7.5 minutes, I think. And the YAST installer completed in 16 plus a little bit of change minutes. And this was a timer started from the moment that I pushed enter on the grub screen until the time that it said install complete. And the Agama installer, the thing that stood out to me is the Agama installer was almost finished by the time that the Yast installer was finally done initializing. I don't know what's going on in the Yast installer that takes that long to initialize. I know it's old software. I don't know. You're muted.
Of course I am.
Yeah.
I was very curious, just like what maybe if you found anything on any responses or any communication, anybody out there on that. And I'm wondering what might be some of the issue, or what the reasons are.
I honestly don't know. I did the same speed test. I don't remember when. It was approximately about a year ago, and I don't remember which version of Agama it was. I think it was 13. I did the same speed test, and this was before OpenSUSE did all their magic to make their repos faster, and they are a lot faster now. But that speed test, the same thing applies, that in Agama, you do your data, it initializes very quickly, and there's not a lot of data entry. It's your username, it's how do you want to partition, and that's basically the only control that you have, and what desktop environment you want. Unless it's Leap, and and what desktop environment. But there's not a lot of interaction. So you're going from initial boot to your data entry is done, and you're hitting the install button pretty quickly. And Yast has historically, as long as I can remember, taken a really long time to initialize. Always has. I don't know why. But in that previous speed test from a year ago, even though that was the case where Agama, you pushing the install button on Agama a lot quicker, Yast actually installed faster, relatively speaking, at 24 minutes. And Agama took 27 minutes to install. And so whatever they've done, whatever it is that they've done to make Agama just absolutely fly, it's working. And we know, Nate and I both know, most people know that Yast is in the process of being deprecated. So they're not putting a lot of love into Yast anymore.
Yeah, and I think
I'm assuming. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So this is just a one-off install, though. I'm assuming Agama doesn't get involved once you've got OpenSUSE installed.
That is correct. No, Agama's done. Agama is just an installer only, whereas Yast is, at least on Tumbleweed, after you install Yast, you still have Yast on your system to do all these other system setting changes and all that. But Agama is a one-off. It does the install, and it never shows up again.
Yeah, so unless you're some sort of nutter like me who blows up his Linux installs every other day, you're only going to notice that wonderful program once, and then it's gone. It's forgotten about.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
And I even say that in the video. It's not a deal breaker. Theoretically, you're only going to install your system once, and it is what it is.
But if they're going to be using some of that technology that they've obviously got working really well now to replace Yast once you're up, I mean, was Yast just an installer, or is Yast an installer once you get going in OpenSUSE?
It was in everything.
Yast is everything, including the kitchen sink. It's an installer. It's a settings manager. It's a printer manager. It's a config. It's at everything.
Yeah. So if they're going to use some of that technology then to replace Yast from what they've learned in Agama, that's going to be a good thing, surely.
My understanding is they to replace Yast software, they've got something called Merlin now, which is, if you compare Yast Software Center side by side with Merlin, you'll barely notice any difference. They actually pulled out the Software Center, a lot of the code from Software Center, and reproduced it in a modern language. and created Merlin. It's an exact duplicate,
Yeah.
very closely. And there's going to be a couple of things like that, but for the most part, they're replacing YAST control system controls with Cockpit.
I think there's pluses and negatives with that. The on one hand, I kind of like the, if you're going to be deploying, let's say, a bunch of Leap instances of, in an enterprise environment, Cockpit is actually better because you can have a single pane of glass to manage all of these different instances, which is very cool. You can tie them together. So that is one of those things I think Cockpit has going for it. I think a lot of the functions that I've been using YAST historically for, like printers, but this is long ago, I've been using just the KDE built-in one. And so I think that because a lot of these desktop tools are, okay, Paul is hilarious, by the way. If you he says it's YAST Queen, and that made me laugh. Thanks, Paul. Anyway, so I think a lot of those desktop tools have taken place of it. I think there are a few things that concern me about YAST going away, and so one of those. So I don't know if kind of throw them here. I don't know if you can really see it on the screen, but something that I think is very important, at least from my perspective, is the whole the bootloader functionality. And then I do think the network settings, I use that quite a bit. Partitioner can easily be replaced. I've never used the scanner. Printer pretty much not at all. So, this hardware one, if that goes away, that's fine. But the Windows domain membership, which there are other tools out there for that's not necessary. But the user and group management is also something I find very important as well. So I guess my concern is like a lot of these specific tools that they have. I think are really specifically like the bootloader stuff. I think is really valuable. So, say kernel parameters, and yes, you can actually do these things alternative ways. But like this too, I always thought this was great. You can actually, there's CPU mitigations. You can actually turn them off right here. Just little like useful creature comfort functions that I think are cat's pajamas. So I'm a little concerned about some of that, but I guess we'll see.
A lot of those actually are in Cockpit, not the bootloader one, but there's a lot of that's in the Cockpit.
I have a question about Cockpit. Is that the same Cockpit that we know from other operating systems? Like Linux. I'm sorry, like Ubuntu, managing the servers remotely.
I think so. So it's the same. I know it's the same as Red Hat for sure, and I'm sure if it's
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Red Hat. Maybe I misspoke, but yeah,
it could be. I mean,
I think it's on Fedora too.
Yeah, it is. It's on Fedora. So it is a service that does run in the background, and I don't know exactly how I feel about that because it seems a little bit heavier. But that I could just be an imagination. It might be it only comes up when it needs to come up, just like a sleeping service. But yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. I think if as long as I don't lose functionality, I think I'm fine. User and group management, I really like the OpenSUSE tools for that. I don't want to show that one because I don't want to. I may have information on there that would be good. So anyway, yeah, I guess we'll see how all that goes. And I think network settings, that's how it can be done pretty much now with Network Manager. And there's nice TUI and GUI for Network Manager. Have you guys used the Network Manager TUI? Have you seen that? It's pretty. It's
not
pretty rad.
The TUI. I have used the GUI, I think, before, and they're in the YAST tools.
So I know this is a news flight night, and I'm totally derailing things again. So I'm going to be careful with this one too. But you basically get all the same sort of fun tools in the GUI, but in the terminal. So you can actually manage these things remotely without just by SSHing into something. If you have I know that's a dangerous thing to do, by the way, but you can do that through the terminal, which is pretty awesome. So,
are you talking about NMCLI, or is there something else?
NMTUI. NMCLI is what it all sits on. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So terminal user.
I was going to say because I use CLI all the time. I mean,
yeah. But I cannot remember the sequence of commands to save my life. I have a cheat sheet, and it's like, hey Grok,
gotcha.
You know.
Is it bad? That's what my bash aliases has become. Is I can't remember anything, so put it in my bash alias, and then maybe I'll remember it.
Right, but then you remember just your bash aliases, and if you use it somewhere else, then I know I've done a lot of that. But anyway, it's good times. So anyway, Dale, I guess it'd be interesting to see what comes of the Agma installer, how much longer the Tumbleweed installer is going to be on. The only thing that kind of concerns me about Agma versus Yast, and this is like total edge case. You know, it's one of those like it might get the side eye. Is you can do a console only terminal install of Tumbleweed with Yast without headless. You know, like if you terminal into something, which I've done before on some unique, you know, like networking gear, and so you can do that with Yast. I don't know if you can do that with Agma. That'd be my only concern.
It's actually what Agma is designed to do. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it is designed to be a headless install specifically for servers. You have the server in the closet, and you connect to it with your main computer, and Agma. You run Agma on that computer, connect into it, and you're doing everything on the screen on your computer, but you're installing on that server. It is designed to do that.
That's cool. I should probably.
It's a network installer. It's a true network installer.
Really? So you can and it will recognize the serial output instead of even network.
As far as I know.
Yeah. See, that
is
right
actually
there.
What it's doing. That is actually what it's designed to do.
Yeah, that's a cat's pajamas right there, really. If that would actually work. Yeah. So I'm going to say Puncher says my bash RC is now 4,000 lines. Wow. That's a lot of lines.
How long does that login take?
I don't know.
Oh, and I'll also say that the Agma installer is also designed to do it easier. What's it called? Unattended installs.
Install? Okay.
Yeah.
So I've done some.
You set up the script in it, and then you can run that same script on a bunch of computers, and all the computers will be the same install.
So could you also do like a cloud init sort of a YAML file to deploy Agma as well? Agma, using Agma?
Similar, yes. Okay. And I think there's instructions or maybe some code or something that you can convert YAML into what Agma needs.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So like when I deploy certain like you know virtual machines or whatever at work, I use SUSE Harvester for the virtualizer, and so I can I have these cloud init files for depending on what I'm deploying, so I can actually set all the parameters in that before I kick it out. And that's pretty cool. So I can like give it my SSH keys and everything, so that like the public key.
I'm gonna say that it's my understanding that's what it's designed to do. I'm also gonna say I have no experience with it, so I can't help you.
It's all good. It's something I can dig into another time. But anyway, that's actually really good news. That was my only other real concern.
I'm actually looking forward to Agama appearing in the next Transformers movie as well. It's got that name about it, isn't it?
It does.
Agama.
Is it like Unicron, or is it maybe one of more like the dinosaur type? I don't know. Well, okay. Very cool. A couple of neat little things been doing in Linux and tech. I do enjoy these. They bring a smile to my face. All right, let's move on to the straw poll. All right. So in the straw poll is, do you intentionally add or remove fonts in your Linux distro? So cubiclenate.com/polls if you want to get that in the last second here before I go and do the see what the totals come down to. But some of the replies are, I add fonts, but it's mostly the Noto fonts, Google, and Microsoft fonts for compatibility with their documents. Another says, I said no, but that is only 99% true. Almost 20 years ago, I added the GTA San Andreas font, nice, something like pricedow.tff. If I can find it, I might add it again. Another person says, I said yes in the poll, and I do add them every now and then, but it's for a specific purpose. If I'm using GIMP to put text on an image, I need to install the font for the text 98% of the time. The fonts I have already are close enough to good enough, but every now and then I will use a new open source font specifically because it's a good fit for the graphic I'm designing. I actually love fonts, and the only reason I don't play around more with trying out different fonts on my system is simply time. I know that if I start heading down the rabbit hole, I will wind up spending hours on it, and I have so many other things to do. And also, if too many fonts on the system, with too many fonts on the system, and it gets really annoying to scroll down the whole list to pick the font in whatever application you're choosing. That's true. Someone else says, I always add Microsoft TrueType font set up to my Linux setup, and many websites use them as a primary font. And of course, I have added various fonts that I use for development work and or any minor graphics work I may do. Now, I personally do add a whole myriad of fonts I've collected over the years that are near and dear to me to some level. So let's see, how many do I import each time I do an install? Looks like, wow, that's a lot. Is that right? 348 different fonts I add. So anybody else here add fonts? So what's that?
We might need an intervention.
We might. So some of them are Microsoft fonts. Some of them are very Star Trek or like old, like Amiga, Amstrad, Commodore 64 like fonts. So one of my favorites is it's called LCARS. So like the font in Star Trek Next Generation. Another one that I got probably 25-ish years ago is called Rust Proof Body, which is the DeLorean font. When you see the DeLorean written out on the car, it's that font there.
And so, apart from giving you font memories, where do you use these?
So I don't use them as much as I used to, but like the LCARS font. Now I have a the LCARS font I do use in all my. So I have a budget spreadsheet that I keep, and it's and okay. As I push up my glasses here to tell you, I have everything, like all the menu, everything around it is all in the LCARS fashion. So I took some time quite a while ago to develop this spreadsheet of my income, savings, investment, expenses, and everything in a very Star Trek-y style way. And the neat thing with LibreOffice is you can actually have it go dark mode, so it's all dark with white text. Looks really good, and it makes me happy. Is it the most useful way to do things? No, probably not, but I like it. And the question is, how motivated am I to keep on top of my budget? And that makes it better, because it's boring.
I'm with you, Eric. Intervention is needed, mate.
I have used fonts when I 3D print something, or when I use my Cricut vinyl cutter. You got to have the right font if you're going to go that far with it. So you got to, So I've used the Star Trek font, of course.
The LCAR stuff, yeah. I have about 3,500 fonts that I, not always, but at least on my main desktop I have them. Sometimes on my laptop, depending on what projects I've worked on, because a lot of them end up being for specific like logos and customer design and stuff like that. So that's really the reason. The second reason used to be that font support, not font support, but fonts themselves that were included. There was a pretty bare bones set of fonts that came with Linux distributions, and you kind of had to install the Microsoft ones just simply because there really weren't a lot of, installed options. And so I felt at least at one point I kind of had to install fonts just to have a lot of different options. Whereas now, the last few times I've even gone and looked at fonts, most systems are coming with, a lot of stuff pre-installed. So that's really what it comes down to for me, was specific use cases of needing those fonts for projects, and then just feeling as the font support in general in the past wasn't as robust as it is today. So, but I'll very much say that I agree with, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name, but whoever said when you add that many fonts and then you're trying to do work in any kind of an application where you're choosing a font, becomes really a bit of a pain in the butt, because you just have literally thousands of options. So,
right, and then you have Webdings, Wingdings, Wingdings 2, and Wingdings 3. So those are very important to have, although I've never actually used them, but I do have them. Oh, I also have the different, like the TNG title, and also the font that's on. Actually, they put on the Starship, like say USS Enterprise and CC1701. I have that font too. Yeah. What do you say? I'm sorry.
Now, most of the time, I don't install fonts because so many of the systems I'm working on are either headless or I don't want to rely upon a certain font, so I'm always kind of like, let me just deal with what comes on the system.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me.
As far as system fonts,
kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, as far as system fonts are concerned, I just leave them whatever's default, whatever Plasma throws at me, I'm fine with that. And then Mike Chilson sent me down a rabbit hole on fonts this last week. You were saying something about you were talking about the font rendering on Firefox versus Chrome. Is that what it was?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for that. And on top of that, I think I probably lost 30 minutes one day on this, but I was comparing all the web pages from the different web browsers, and I'm actually going to say I prefer Firefox.
Hey, look, whatever floats your boat. That's all I can say. Okay. But what I was going to comment about the font thing was, I think that we should take people's computer away who send emails in Comic Sans. Okay. Anybody that uses that as their primary font needs to go back to an Abacus. Okay.
I wonder if I can do that.
Sure you can.
Mike Chilson.
I'm more concerned where people send me an email and they have absolutely no comprehension of grammar or spelling. And these are coming from, like, when I was working, from CEOs and senior managers, and it's like, how on earth did you get to the top of the tree and you can't even grammatically form a sentence properly? I don't care what font they use, just make it read correctly, please.
Obviously, you've never seen an email written in Comic Sans, okay? Because I think it would feel different otherwise.
No. When I was taking the peer of one of our CEOs once, I replied to him in Comic Sans, and he said, "What on earth have you just sent me this email in?" I said, "Well, it's as bad as your spelling, Gov."
Nice.
That's
and
awesome,
I continued to work there for 13 years, so he took it in the right vein.
Could have been 14 if you would have watched your P's and Q's.
No, because that's the one that I retired from because I'd had enough of the whole organization.
I got you. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and read the results of the StrawPoll. It says, do you intentionally add or remove fonts from your Linux distro? So in first place, with 73% of the votes, yes, I add fonts only. 23% said no in second place. I neither intentionally add or remove fonts. In fifth place is yes, I both add and remove fonts. I've never removed a font. And then no one said yes, remove fonts only, and nobody said other. So that seems pretty reasonable, I would say.
I think the one instance where I've removed fonts is when they have the CJK stuff, where it's the Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, and there's like 150 extra fonts that I'll never ever use. So I think that's the only time I can remember.
I hoard fonts. I think is my problem. So if I get a new font, I keep it, and it's got to go everywhere with me.
My most common reason for installing fonts is for fast fetch, nerd fonts and everything for the little symbols. And
okay.
That's the only time I really add fonts anymore. I used
Hip
to
Dad,
add
you're a little quiet. My old man ears can't quite get you.
Okay, what about that?
Much better.
Okay. Plus, I got food in my mouth. Yeah, I would just add the nerd fonts for the fast fetch, and a while back I used to add like every single font I could find. Then I find out it's actually a resource hog, so I haven't done that anymore.
Gotcha. Well, cool. A whole nother area of nerdism. Fonts.
So let me ask that: is there performance degradation to adding fonts? Will it? I mean, just having a lot of fonts, does that take any memory, or is it just loads it as needed? Anyone know?
Depends on the system. I know I had a situation where my wife had added, I don't know, 25,000 fonts to Windows. Something like that. It was a lot. Like
wow,
unbelievable amount. And just having that many in the fonts folder was like, it caused a massive like performance issue in unexpected ways. So that was a fun head scratcher until I figured out what the heck was going on. I'm like, I have no idea what any of this means, but so I finally just thought about, okay, she has fonts. She has these. Well, they don't really do them this way anymore, but she used to get these design packs every year that would come on like 10 DVDs, and it would be like clip art, fonts, vector stock, like all that stuff. And so she would a lot of times take that and then, put a lot of those fonts in place on her system. And yeah, like it, you can go too far. That's for sure.
Now, I wonder if you did that on a modern machine, because I imagine that was a few years back. If you did that on a machine today,
it's
running Linux, if that would still be the case, or if it would be just if it would be any issues.
From a Windows point of view, it wouldn't be anywhere near as big an issue now, because a recent update that came down has made File Explorer, I would say, 40 to 50% faster. And the reason I can tell that is because I have a ridiculous amount of wallpapers that I like to hoard. And before, I could be scrolling down the page and I would have to wait maybe 2 or 3 seconds for it to build the picture as it was going down. Now I can literally go to my biggest folder and just keep pressing the page down button, and it's instantly providing me the picture of what that thing is. So yeah, File Manager has come an awful long way. So I don't think it would affect it as much.
Yeah, from an application standpoint of view, it depends on how the system, they use a font cache, a system font cache, regardless of which OS it is, whether it's Windows or Linux. But yeah, if the cache is like extremely large, you're going to look at some slow load times and slow drop downs opening and that kind of stuff. So, but generally, you don't see that much of a difference unless it's a ridiculous situation like Eric talked about. So.
That's cool. Yeah, I wonder. I imagine there also, it depends on the application because it probably only parses the fonts when you are looking at them, I'm guessing.
No, that's not how it works. There's a cache that the OS sets up.
Okay.
For your fonts. Okay. And when and it's like an indexed cache. And when you load your application and you go to list all the fonts, or load all the fonts for the list, it's pulling from that cache, not actually from the directory of fonts.
Okay.
I mean, there is some dynamic stuff that goes on there between, like if you add a font while the app's open. I don't think Linux does this immediately, but Windows will actually update what you're seeing when you close the drop down and open it again. Excuse me. But that cache is just a file. It's a single file, and that's what it builds those lists from.
Okay. When does it actually build? Maybe you said it. I just missed it. But when does it actually build that? Like at the launch the application?
The OS,
or
no, the OS does it dynamically. If you add a font to your font directory or to the system font directory, it'll rebuild that index.
Okay, got it. I think I'm picking up what you're laying down now. Okay. I wonder how many fonts I actually have. Total. Oh, here it is. It says only 269 fonts. Not a problem. Well, cool.
And my install of Pica OS only has 165 fonts.
I was just going to say, I'm looking, I don't even know I have that many, to be honest with you. I just did a LS of the user share fonts directory, and yeah, there's maybe 40. It's not very many.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, there could be stuff just stashed elsewhere. Like there's you can have fonts that are outside of user share font, obviously, but.
Yeah, in Linux, there's actually a fonts directory in your home directory, and we can add them there. That way they're just for your use. So
I love that. It's so convenient to be able to do that.
It is.
You think on a multi-tenant system, it's a great way to not pollute the entire environment with, your stuff.
Right.
True multi-tenancy. Crazy.
It makes it more fun. Right.
Actually, that would be a good poll question for you at some point. How many people have a computer with more than one user account?
It's not
I would
as
guess
common.
almost. Yeah, it's not very common to have more than one, I would guess.
Yeah, I think there's a few.
Because the days of the family computer like that. I mean, it's not that it doesn't happen, but not like it used to. Not like you've got your Dell desktop and like that's it.
Or even the family computer now, it's one user that people just use for like things.
Everybody just uses the same account. Yeah, exactly. Like you pick up an iPad and it's just the same user the whole time.
So in a way, it's almost like going back to the Windows 9X series model.
Yeah.
In a way. Anyway. I do keep multiple users on my account because I like to test things on another user or see if I can reproduce something on another user. But that's really it. Although I did have...
Well, and the other thing too... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I did have my son did want to use my computer here specifically because he was doing some stuff with NVMEs, and his computer, for whatever reason, would not use this device. I don't know if it was a Fedora issue or a hardware issue, but he would use my computer, and I said, well, I don't want you messing with my work stuff, so I just put the other user just in case. Not that I didn't trust him, but I didn't want to risk something happening, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, he's using Fedora instead of OpenSUSE, so you know that's already sus right there.
Right, exactly.
Should be using OpenSUSE.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was just going to say, I thought of something that inherently everybody has multiple users on their system because usually there's going to be, you know, either root or sudo or, you know, service accounts. You know, if you look at the list of users that are technically, you know, Linux users or Unix or whatever, you know, on most systems, there's going to be quite a few. They're just not like privileged accounts or, you know,
right.
or what would they call that? Interactive accounts or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. All right. Well, it is a news flight night, or news flight early edition, and I have a maybe it's a sad or maybe it's a happy story. Not sure. But the father of the internet is retiring. Have you heard? So, put the story up here. So the Vinton Cerf or Kerf will step down from his role as Google's chief internet evangelist next week, marking the conclusion of one of the most influential careers in technology history. So while speaking via audio feed at the Open Frontier Conference hosted by the Laud Institute, Kerf was recognized by Dave Patterson as the UC Berkeley professor, best known for co-developing the risk processor architecture. It says, Vint has been at Google more than 20 years, and he's retiring a week from today. And so I think we ought to give him a round of applause for his relatively good career, Patterson said. To cheers from the room, a Google spokesperson confirmed that the Cerf will be stepping down from his role at the company. At 83, and collaborator Robert Kahn are credited as being the architects of the networking protocols that became the internet as we know it today. His work developing and popularizing TCP/IP, the basic set of rules that sets different computer networks talk to each other, beginning in the 1970s, has made recognized with numerous honorary degrees, the Presidential Medal of Freedom and a Turing Award, among other honors. Since 2005, he has served as vice president and chief internet evangelist at Google. We can safely say he's the internet. He's fully evangelized it for good or ill. Cerf was speaking on a panel alongside other computer scientists known for their work on durable open source projects, including Patterson, Francois Chalette, creator of the Keras Deep Learning Library and co-founder of Nvidia, John Ousterhout, the Stanford computer scientist behind the TCL programming language, who also co-founded Electric Cloud, and Matai Zahara, who is Databricks co-founder and chief technologist. They offered advice about what it'll take to build open source systems that survive, advice that's increasingly relevant as founders bet on open infrastructure for the next wave of AI products. So much of the conference discussion focused on the problems with the centralization of advanced models in a handful of well-resourced labs, in contrast to the decentralized world of the open internet that made Cerf's own protocols so durable. However, Cerf predicted that the rise of AI agent software that can act autonomously and coordinate with other software would push tech companies back toward standardized protocols. The agentic models of AI with multiple agents from multiple sources interacting with each other is going to force composability as a requirement for interoperability and standardization. if he's right, the companies that define those interoperable standards early could end up with outsized influence, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I don't care about AI stuff. So Patterson recalled, on a more lighthearted note, for his wardrobe of a three-piece suit as a grad student in the 1970s. He always been the best dressed computer scientist he's ever met. Memory of Vint is that he came from a grad student with a shirt and tie in the 70s. So that's when that was not so popular. But anyway, so it's from TechCrunch. I can give you that link in the there. So what do you think of that? The father of the internet retiring. So we're kind of at we've gone from like this group of people here has gone from an analog to digital world largely, and I'm wondering like how do you what do you think the future holds at when these founding people have moved on?
So I've just got a quick question then. If this gentleman is the father of the internet, what happened to Tim Berners-Lee? Because Tim Berners-Lee has been accredited with creating the internet as we know it today.
He's hanging out with Al Gore. Yeah, him and Al Gore are just hanging somewhere on the beach.
So he's more the father of the World Wide Web, which sits on top of the
right,
internet.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so HTML and HTTP in 1989. That'd be his.
So without the internet, he wouldn't have been able to create the World Wide Web. Gotcha.
Correct. So
Thank you for the clarification.
The networking stack underneath TCP/IP is what everything's built on top of.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Sadly, I would like him to take the internet with him.
Well, then how would we have our conversations, Hip Dad?
We would use a telephone.
I don't like telephones. In fact, I rarely answer the telephone. It's always spam.
We could use real mail, couriers, horseback.
Well, so much for Linux Saloon if we have to do a show over the mail.
We could name our horses Linux. Yeah.
It would be one long saloon.
Called Suse.
We'd have to do it in an actual saloon.
We could have a real saloon. A real old-time Western saloon.
That'd be a little bit far of a drive for some people.
Yeah,
I mean, Zeeb can swim, but he'd have quite a ways to swim to get over here.
You'd have to do it every Saturday.
Go everywhere.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, any other thoughts on that? Like, where would we be without TCP/IP? Was there any competing? I mean, we had a lot of things like before, like Token Ring.
I mean, when did UDP come along?
I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting because to me, this is kind of like a passing of the guard in a way. You know, these are the people that brought us the technology that a lot of the world's based on now, and they're like, "All right, here you go. I'm going off into the woods somewhere. So, good luck."
In terms of like provisioning and like configuring networks, when you had to do Token Ring, we had Token Ring when I first started in the office I worked in, and that I ended up taking over administrative duties for. And I had learned Token Ring in theory in school, but like to do it hands-on, because this was past its heyday. Like we were well into the TCP/IP, Ethernet days by then. So, and the stark contrast between the deterministic nature of a ring network versus a open-ended, like Ethernet is so forgiving in terms of like structure and layout, and so much of it is a software-based control versus Token Ring, which is very much like hardware segments of a network that have to be like physically structured, in a certain way. So yeah, Ethernet definitely, and there's no way in we could have ever had a Token Ring internet. So
God, could you imagine all the
good?
Could you imagine, Eric, all the Terminators you would have to have?
An absolute nightmare. and nothing would ever work because the token expects it to get passed on. So if it stalled somewhere, it would just, oops, sorry, the internet's down today because someone did something dumb to their computer.
I want to know what's going to happen to all his data, his files, his notebooks, all the stuff he's accumulated over the years being involved in this. I mean,
well, I'm sure everybody got it.
Wealth of information.
I'm sure most of it's already been captured. Because I'd imagine that he kept, he probably has a series of white papers and everything else, or publications.
It's probably already been gobbled up and grabbed by Meta or whoever it is that owns Google nowadays.
Alphabet.
It's in Gemini.
So I was looking at someone seeing some of the conversation here said, so Puncher said, or Puncher said, I use IPX SPX. And so that's actually one of the old historic protocols. So there's Novell, IPX SPX, the IBM SNA, DECnet, and AppleTalk, and then also AppleTalk.
So I remember AppleTalk.
Yeah, I remember AppleTalk.
Yeah, I use DECnet quite a bit. Yeah,
I only ever used the Novell's IPX SPX, and looks like Daniel Leont says he used to play Doom over IPX, and I remember I did too. Although it looks like there's actually a bunch of different communication protocols, apparently. So we know TCP/IP, that's the transmission controlled protocol, internet protocol, and then there's so also the UDP is a user datagram protocol. It's a lean alternative to the TCP portion of the TCP/IP. So it trades reliability for speed, proving useful for time-sensitive purposes like video calling, streaming media, and other online gaming. By skipping error checking steps, UDP saves processing overhead and accelerates data transfers, delivering packet quickly, but without guarantees. And then, of course, FTP, SIP. A lot of multimedia sessions over IP use SIP. Everyone's favorite secure shell, SSH. There's a secure socket layer and transport layer security, SSL and TSL. SFTP or FTPS, secure FTP. Simple Network Management Protocol, SNMP. Although I've been finding that something with SNMP is causing our cybersecurity company to go crazy, and they don't like it. And I wish I could remember why. But anyway, so there's a bunch there that you can read through. I think it's kind of interesting. And yeah. Oh, they've been Mike said they've been donated to the Library of Congress. Digitally, or are they on paper?
No clue. Yeah. That's just what the AI is saying.
Are AI overlords?
Yes.
So SIP, I wonder if they still use SIP. I think they do. That was a question from Punchar.
I do when I sip my tea.
See? It's a very important protocol.
That's right.
I got the reference.
So apparently SIP is used for initiating multimedia sessions over IP. So SIP helped packetize voice and media into data that can be transmitted digitally. So apparently this is still used today, which is pretty exciting. That's what the article says. I don't know. I put a link in the show notes and also in the chat for that if you want to read through some of the protocols. All right. So I have another article here. It's on a couple of them. But the first one here is what's new in Firefox this June. Oh, that's basically past. Oop, I'm hearing some music play somehow. Okay. So what's new in Firefox this June? What's next to the Firefox roadmap? For those of us that are Firefox users, which I'm sure it's I know Mike Chilson prefers Firefox fonts, so that's what he told me.
Actually, let me clarify this since you send me a Comic Sans email, okay? I don't have a problem with Firefox at all. There is just a rendering, a few switches you have to turn on to make it look like everything else on the web. That's all. You're muted.
Said I want to turn the switches on the other browsers to make them look more like Firefox.
Oh. One of these days, Nate, straight to the moon.
I've seen that one. It's a rerun.
I have a question then for you guys who fantasize over the fonts in your browser. As long as you can read the website, what does it matter?
Indeed.
It matters a lot. It matters a lot, and I'll tell you why. It's because when a font looks rough and blocky compared to a smooth one, it tires your eyes out quite quickly compared to a smooth font.
For you, yeah.
No, for anyone.
I can sit here in front of my computer for. Yeah,
this is a known thing.
Yeah, but I mean that's only a. It's certainly not true for everybody, because I can sit in front of my computer for 17 hours a day and my eyes don't get tired. My brain hurts, but my eyes don't get tired. I guess for the majority of people, when they've asked them about what causes you tiredness of the eyes, and they go, "Oh, well, it's the font's blocky."
No,
I don't think they would even think about that.
There have been studies done on this, okay, and it's a proven fact that if you don't do font smoothing, the eye fatigue is higher when they're not smoothed.
And I'm guessing they've measured people's ability to focus better. Then, or is that what they class as eye fatigue?
I mean, I didn't do the study, so I can't give you that information. But
yeah, no, I'm just really curious about that now. We're gonna have to. You sent me down a rabbit hole now, Mike. We'll have to start calling you Mike Rabbit Hole Chilson.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I can say for the sake of like font and readability, if I do not like serif fonts. For me, serif fonts are harder to read than sans fonts. Like, how do I put this? So sometimes when I go to read something, I can't read. And it's not because I'm listening to country music and I forget how to read, but it's like something happens like in my head and my eyes, and I can't like lock into the text. That sounds really weird to say. I'm not gonna tell you what the doc told me, because I don't want that public. But a sans serif font doesn't have that same problem for me as a serif font. But serif fonts are supposed to be easier to read than a sans font, from what I've been told. I don't know. I could be wrong.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So for whatever reason, I have a hard time with the serif fonts. It's something wrong with my head, I guess, amongst other things that are wrong with me. But anyway, yeah, fonts are fun. Fonts are a very personal thing, I think.
Okay, so it looks like I've got 8,500 results to read.
Well, better use a non-blocky font, because you're going to get really fatigued if you don't.
That's right.
I'll let you know my findings and whether or not I'm just tricking myself into believing my eyes aren't getting tired.
Well, what it comes down to, Zeb, is this. All Chromium-based browsers do font smoothing automatically. It is not turned on automatically in Firefox. That's the only gripe I have with Firefox, is that. And you can go in and turn it on. It's not like you can't do it.
Yeah, so I guess it's the old, single click, double click. Why did KDE suddenly start turning it on? Because people preferred it.
Right.
So maybe Firefox should listen to their used. I mean, have Firefox done a poll on whether it should be on? I wouldn't even know where to look to find it in Firefox, if I'm honest. Do I even have Firefox installed?
Yeah, if you just search for font smoothing in Firefox in the config, you'll find it.
Yeah, I'd have to install it first because I haven't got it installed. Believe it or not, Pika OS has just gone over to Chromium as their default browser.
I don't see a font smoothing. Maybe somewhere else. Font family.
Yeah, hold on, let me look here. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's a setting called clear type. That's what it's, clear type. There's a parameter you have to set it to 0. If anybody wants to see it, here it is. I'm going to put it in this chat, and if somebody wants to share it, that's fine. I'll put it in the main chat too. I forgot I can do that.
Is it like an advanced setting thing that's like at the bottom?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Or is it in one of those config : whatever it is, and then you change it in there?
Right. Yeah, I think that's where it is, Zeb. I think you have to open that little thing and put in that parameter, that font rendering clear type, params, enhance, contrast, and then change it from -1 to 0.
What is is it like about config or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, about : config or something.
Accept this risk and continue. Okay, GFX font rendering clear type. Okay, I'm gonna see if so that's not actually, that must have to be added because I don't have that for me.
And when you think about it, if it is a proven fact that badly created fonts can damage people's eyes, that's not very inclusive of Firefox, is it? So that they put out a browser that's going to damage your eyes more than Chrome does.
I don't know if it's damage necessary. It's just, I think it's more of a psychological fatigue.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting nonetheless. So speaking of Firefox, we'll just hop right back into that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
Yeah, that's the whole idea of the show. I think you get more points for derailing. So Firefox has been busy introducing updates across productivity, piracy, and AI, whatever, from Project Nova and browser-wide AI controls to expand privacy protections and new ways to stay organized. The goal is simple: helping you to spend less time managing your browser and more time getting things done online. But building the best browser isn't just about shipping new features, it's about building them alongside people who use Firefox every day. Introducing the Firefox Roadmap. So you can click on this. Gives people a clear look at what they're building and a preview of where Firefox is heading. Let's actually look at this real quick. So, well, that's kind of neat. So they have like a list of these things they're working on. And little try now buttons. So, so it says, we've always built Firefox in the open, and our new roadmap is an extension of that. Some of the best ideas in Firefox came directly from the people who use it. And said the head of Firefox, the roadmap gives our community a new way to see what's taking shape, share feedback earlier, and help guide where we're heading next. The roadmap highlights what we're working on across Firefox, including productivity, privacy, performance, AI, and the technologies to help make the web better for everyone. How many times have they said AI already? All right. Some items in the roadmap will be things we've already shared. Others will be shared publicly for the first time. Together, it'll provide a clear picture of where Firefox is headed and the areas we're investing to build a better browser. Here's a look at what's rolling out in Firefox 152 and what we're building next. So some of the new stuff. So tab groups. So turns when just a few turn into a dozen tabs, it's hard to tell what's important and which tabs had the thing you were actually looking for. Tab groups have been helping Firefox desktop users bring order to the chaos. So check that out. So a simple way to manage Firefox settings. We've redesigned Firefox settings to make it easier to find what you're looking for, discover controls you might not have known existed, and truly make Firefox your own. The privacy protections you can actually see. And so what's new on the Firefox roadmap? So power users know that even small efficiency improvements add up over time. One of Firefox's most requested customization features are the customizable keyboard shortcuts, give you more control over how Firefox fits in your workflow. Does anybody use customizable keyboard shortcuts? In
I do
browser?
on a couple of things.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of toggles that don't, like Dark Reader and Bitwarden, the keyboard shortcuts. No, that's Chrome. I'm sorry. They are on by default in Firefox, but in Chromium, I have to enable them.
Okay. So I think something is very cool is the design how people handle everyday PDF tasks without leaving the browser. So there's upcoming PDF editing improvements. Importantly, there include the ability to split, merge, and reorganize documents directly in Firefox. How huge is that? Or am I the only one that cares?
It's really good, actually, and I just discovered it not long ago because none of the PDF editors, like the desktop ones, what is it, Events or Evidence or whatever, and then the KDE one, they don't really do forms very well. They don't do redacting very well. They don't do like a lot of the basic kind of stuff that you almost have to go to like an Adobe Acrobat or like a paid solution. And so, yeah, the fact that Firefox has some pretty solid PDF tools now. Like you can actually work on a PDF and like a tax form. That's how I discovered it, was doing my taxes this year, because I was so sick of my wife's computer has like Acrobat, like old school Acrobat on it. And that was the only one that had like digital signatures set up and stuff. And I was able to replicate that functionality using Firefox, and I was pretty happy about it.
I need to test that out, but I think where I see it as being great is we have a lot of Adobe licenses at work, and it seems like we're having more and more problems. Like every time there's an update, there's the impooification, I'll just say it like that, of anything Adobe, it seems like. And they're not getting better, but they're getting worse. So that might be an alternative, that because some people just need to be able to edit documents, like just either break them apart or rearrange pages. And so that might be a good alternative. I'll dig into that more later. So another one is multi-account containers. One of Firefox's most loved browser extensions help people carve out a separate space for each part of your online life and keep work, personal, and other online activities from bleeding into one another. That is pretty cool. Also, a free built-in VPN. Has anybody used the VPN? I know the little icon shows up, but I'm not sure.
I have.
No.
It's okay. I mean, it's 50 gigs a month, which is, it's reasonable if you're just doing light browsing and stuff. So, and it seems to be fast enough, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's either a white labeled service or, I mean, maybe they built out their own. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's fine for what it is. I don't know. So I was. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'm confusing Firefox and DuckDuckGo. I was just looking at DuckDuckGo's VPN because they're including their AI stuff in with it too, like they're packaging their the DuckDuckGo services is what I was looking at. So never mind. No, I wasn't looking at Firefox VPN.
No worries. They're all kind of bleeding together at this point. So the thing is that the quick answers, people like to be asked Firefox question using their voice and receive concise AI generated answers right in the browser with source available when they want to learn more. Continue to build a smart window or optional and private AI browsing experience, and adding power saving mode to help identify tabs that consume the most resources on your phone, probably the AI ones, and automatically reducing their impact, extending battery life without consistently managing what's running in the background. So I thought that was pretty cool. Some neat Firefox news there. It is my primary browser. I think it's been the best for me, really. So, what does anybody here use Firefox primarily, or is it am I the cheese that stands alone on that one?
I use Firefox just about only on my desktop, laptop, on my Android phone, Android tablet, pretty much everywhere I use Firefox.
Yeah, I use Firefox on the desktop. I kind of have to. I feel like that's the only one that has all the combination of tools and stuff. And it really comes down to the containers for the most part, because it's the only one that has that in that way. Like I use the profile stuff on other browsers, but it's just less convenient because it's multiple windows and forget where stuff is. So, but I don't use it on mobile because I just don't think it's as good as the other things, even though it does have extension support. It's getting better. It has improved recently.
I don't know if you want
No, I did. I do have it. I have Firefox. I have Waterfox. I've got it like 10 browsers on my phone because I just like to check in on them all the time. I'm between Waterfox and Vivaldi right now for like main browser.
Okay. I'm a mix of them.
About. I was going to say Firefox has been around for so many years, and Mozilla's done so many great projects. I've used Firefox and Thunderbird over the years, and I don't always use it, but they've always been there. So I don't use them in my daily stuff, but it is pretty good. I was just looking at their other products they have right now. There is a privacy version called Firefox Focus, which I did not know about. Automatically does ad blocking and automatic tracking protection. And then one other one I just came across was the Mozilla Monitor, where it's will help you find what breaches you've been in. And so I would trust that.
I think Firefox Focus on the mobile also forgets everything you've done as soon as you shut it down and you start up with a blank browser again.
I haven't used it.
But I don't use Firefox on a normal basis.
I've been getting increasingly annoyed with Edge, and so I'm actually looking at. It has like some really weird issues. Like when I go to use like the Bitwarden plugin, I'll click on it and then it'll close it. And I'll click on it and it'll close it. I'll click on it, it'll stay, and then it'll close it. And so it's been really annoying. It doesn't do it all the time, just sometimes. But it's not just on Linux; it happens on Windows too. I don't know what's going on. So I think Edge might get the boot, and I'm potentially I might just set up like another Firefox profile. I have a couple of Firefox profiles I use. I'm not using Firefox here right now, so I guess shame on me. But it's there's a reason for it. But one of the things when I'm having to do certain tasks, if I go to copy something off of a web page with Edge, it always pops up that stupid menu also, and it annoys me. I'm sure there's a way to shut that off, but I don't know. There's a bunch of little things that Edge does that I don't know what it's doing, but I don't like it. So anyway.
Yeah, I pretty much use them all. I mean, I would say I lean toward Chromium because I use the debugging tools built into Chromium. But yeah, I use them all. I mean, at this point, they all kind of seem to be about on quite similar ground, you know. So they do a good job of keeping up with each other. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can see that. So I think the next story here is on Firefox. Is adding Vulkan shader support or decoding to Nvidia GPUs. And this, I think, is rather compelling. So Firefox is adding hardware-accelerated Vulkan video decoding, saving Nvidia users on Linux the hassle of manually configuring the Nvidia VAPI driver package. This change will be included in Firefox 135 out July 21st, but it will not be enabled by default, at least not to start with. Instead, users will be able to flip a pair of preferences in About Config and try it out with the awareness that there may be hiccups and edge cases, especially in devices with hybrid graphics mentioned it's further down. So given that NVIDIA GPUs are capable of understanding klaxon, I was surprised to hear that this didn't already work. Turns out Firefox disables hardware video decoding for all NVIDIA devices on Linux blanket style, which is why community workaround is necessary. Adding native Vulkan video decoding path to its codebase means workarounds will no longer be required. Vulkan video is a cross-vendor spec, not an NVIDIA specific one. Firefox implementation builds on FFmpeg Vulkan decode support. ARM and embedded GPUs were the initial target of this work, resolving a bug about a lack of hardware video decoding on AR64 Linux at all. So NVIDIA's own a DGX Spark and ARM-based desktop AI computer that run Ubuntu currently lacks hardware video decoding on Firefox, as the GB10 chip doesn't support VA API or V4L2. Mozilla tracking bug for fixing that depends on the Vulkan video work. So you can try it out on nightly builds. So does that seem like something that's anybody here going to benefit from that? No?
Okay, here's a basic question. What's the point of it? What does it give you?
Hardware accelerated video in Firefox.
Was there not already a switch that could, is that not the same? No, that's, accelerated GPU or something, whatever it's called.
It was turned off by default because of some issues. And so now they're utilizing the Vulkan driver now by default. The Vulkan VA
and you know what?
driver.
You know what, Nate? I hate to roll back to this, but that's probably why my font rendering was so bad in Firefox, because I have an Nvidia card, and I was actually just reading up on all this while we're sitting here talking, and that the smoothing relies on the hardware acceleration being turned on.
Well, looks like we're solving some mysteries in your world, Mr.
That's right.
Chilson.
That's right.
Yeah,
How about
that's pretty cool. So, I guess then, so you obviously run an NVIDIA card then, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. That's cool. So I guess you are going to benefit from this. maybe you can tell us after the 21st how it goes.
Yep. I actually just saved that article to my favorites.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Mr. Nate.
Well, actually, thank Eris. He found the article.
Thank you, Mr. Eris.
So there, next on the list of topics is submit a KDE goal. This is from pointystick.com. The guy has a great name, Nate Graham. So Katie's now started a 5th round of goal setting. Oops, I got to write something down here. Give me just one hot second. One hot second here before I get lost and mess up. All right, so these goals are big, high-level goals. Think focus on large strategic topic X more so than fix my pet bug A, B, and C. Make this a little bigger here. So and it's up to the KDE community to choose the goals. It's up to you, up to me, up to all of us. They will then be voted on with the top 3 informing KDE's overall direction for the next 2 years. So KDE needs your fresh ideas, your contributions, your budding leadership talent, but not your imposter syndrome driven fear of coming out of your shell. Overcome that. There's now been championing new goals, usability and productivity, and automate and systemize internal processes. So I'd count the first as pretty successful, the second less so. So at this point, I feel like I've had a pretty good idea of what works and what doesn't, and like to use that knowledge to help others submit their own high-quality, actionable goals. So what works in my experience as a Nate Graham to articulate an immediately obvious large problem or aspiration. If you spend any time in KDE or using KDE software, you have encountered stuff that could be better. Big stuff. That's the topic to write a goal around. Not discover is too slow to refresh when I launch it, but rather first-class software delivery UX. You can steal that. Have a technical lead and a communication lead. That can be different people, but you need both. Only have a tech lead, not enough communication, people forget about it. Don't join and the tech lead burns out, or have a comms lead, but enough work happens and the goal lumps embarrassingly toward the finish line. If you propose a goal, be the tech lead. You can be a comms lead too, but you should be prepared to lead the tech. It's much easier to recruit people to do other things than it is to recruit a tech lead to do a ton of work on your behalf if you can't do it. So don't buy more than you can chew. If you can't be the tech lead on your idea scale it back or change the scope so that you can be the tech lead. This doesn't mean that you need to know how to do everything. It just means that you need to do a big chunk of the technical work and at least understand the concepts of the things you can't personally do. So it's fun, and you end up having a huge impact on how awesome KDE is. So, improving. There's some documentation here that you can check on. So anyway, is this something that anybody here would be particularly interested in doing and getting involved in KDE if that's your desktop of choice, in improving areas that you think need improved? No? Crickets?
Well, I would say that they've introduced new features with every successive release of the software. And I actually just did a search for, a roll-up of, let's say, this year's releases in terms of features, because every time I go to do something, not every time, but a lot of times I go to do something, and if I move a certain way, I guess that triggers a pop-up box or a bother box that's saying hey, do you know about this feature? And 9 times out of 10, I don't, because I don't really follow the release schedule or the release notes. And I'll tangentially hear about some high level feature, but not see it demonstrated or understand what it actually does. And often it interrupts me in the middle of doing something important. So it's right then is not the time I want to learn how to do something new. So I don't know. I guess good documentation is the documentation you can actually use when you need it. and discover things that will make your life easier. I don't know. It's always hard to make it not be nebulous and enormous, you know, and I mean, I almost want to see something like here's the top 5 most, you know, top 5 things that makes Firefox a better browser than the competition, you know, that kind of thing. And then here's like things that are very specific to Firefox, not the Me Too items, but the like, here's something it does that no one else does and why that is a cool feature. And anyways, how that relates to documentation, I think I haven't seen anything like that. I mean, they kind of rely on the press to do that. And KDE, I'm sorry, I know you went into KDE and I'm still talking about Firefox. I'm actually talking about KDE. I was saying Firefox and meant KDE. Because I've been using KDE again, and there are new features. And yeah, I've been like stumbling across them as I go. So I've actually been really enjoying KDE quite a lot, more than I thought I would. So, but yeah, discoverability is definitely one of those things. And yeah, the documentation, as I've been trying to find ways to do stuff, is just, it's not great. So I get this. I understand.
I think what about like features that I would really want in KDE Plasma specifically is, I think the way it handles like SMB shares could stand for some improvement. It's not that it doesn't work; it's that it just doesn't work with all applications. So if you're staying within the KDE space, it's fine. You can even use like I can use like LibreOffice, works with it no problem. Didn't used to, it does, but the KDE IO slaves or KIO slaves, those seem to work pretty well. But I do have issues from time to time where it's the right password and login. It just doesn't seem to want to log in until I quit Dolphin and open it back up, and then it redoes all the, you know, whatever. And sometimes that doesn't even work. So I think handling shares a little bit better. I'm not sure what the right answer is for that, because I've tried like mounting them, but that doesn't actually make things any better than just going to them. And it seems like if they could just work out how to get there a little cleaner, I think that would make it great. But I don't know exactly. I'm not sure what the right solution is necessarily, but a solution would be great for that. That would be just slightly improved. You want to say Warthunder?
As I was saying, like in my experience, KDE seems to be that's my number one issue that I've had with KDE, is how it handles network shares, how it mounts them, and a lot of apps just don't know what to do with that or don't know how it's being mounted. I've had a number of times where I've even gone into FS tab and done manual mounting, and Dolphin will just crash, or I'll add it as like a favorite in the sidebar and it'll crash. And so, I mean, that is kind of one big area that I do think they can improve how things work there. Because I mean, yes, I know, Mike. NFS. I should be using NFS, but I'm lazy, and so my server is set up with SMB. It was a one-click in TrueDAS, and NFS was more than one click. So maybe someday I'll change my mind. But
I have a great article on using NFS and FS cache in keepinglate.com. If you want to check that out, it should work with any Linuxi.
I could.
Yeah, but it's
I mean, an NFS share just looks like a directory to the file system. So
right. And so I mount them and unmount them whenever I feel like it. But there's a specific, if you like, I can't recall exactly what it is.
Yeah, because I do a lot. I do a mixture of SMB and whenever I have to move large files, I'll connect to my server over SFTP and do that. I do sometimes use FileZilla, but sometimes I literally just use like Nemo and Mint and do SFTP natively, or I'll do it through the terminal if I'm just moving files that way. I mean, most of the time I'm just syncing via Nextcloud, so it's not a big deal, but I don't do that for like my software repository, because I keep some software here, old games and stuff from my collection and whatnot. I throw up on my NAS, or I'll back up from Steam, my NAS and whatnot. I mean, I've been told NFS can be faster than SMB or like things like that. So maybe I could use that as an excuse to try and create an NFS to share and see.
So I know about TrueNAS, but I know that some of the other, I think Synology, you can share the same thing with SMB and NFS with just by clicking.
Mm-hmm.
So you could try them both. You would have to stop using one for the other. But the nice thing with NFS and using something like FS Cache as well, that allows, so if let's say you're doing a lot of interactions with that, it'll actually cache a lot of those files locally, so then you don't actually have as much network traffic with NFS.
No.
So
it'd be nice.
That is a benefit.
I don't do it as much as I used to, but I used to host. So before I set up my Proxmox machine, I used to host the VM in Virt Manager or VirtualBox and then manually copy it back to my server when I was done. So if I could access it on another machine. I'm sure I just made 3 people just rage quit and leave the room with that solution, but that's what I did. It worked.
Yeah, most of the performance issues I've encountered with the NFS was having mismatched parameters between the server and myself. And that tends to kill the performance somewhat. If you get those synced up, it seems as fast.
Well, when it's not degrees outside, I will go see if TrueNAS just gives me a toggle to make an NFS share off of something I already have set up and see how it works.
So in the chat, Jonas Kunecki, I don't know if I'm saying that last name correctly. He says, I have no idea how to set up authentication for NFS. So the authentication for NFS it's just the user, the system user. You have just add one, and then you give whatever. So you'd have to add that user as has to have permissions on whatever you're sharing, essentially. So either through groups or whatever. It's not terrible. I think it feels like it's a little bit clunky, maybe, but it's not terrible.
It does compared to a Microsoft SMB, but it's not bad once you understand it. It's pretty straightforward, actually.
Yeah. So. I mean, I don't want to admit this, but I do feel like the granularity that Microsoft provides with their SMB shares is actually pretty good. Like it is really quite good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's good.
It tends to be. And my server here can only do gig anyway because that's the infrastructure I have. I actually found out the hard way that I got this system built and then realized the onboard NIC wasn't supported in TrueNAS yet. And that was a 2.5 gig, but I only have a gig switch over there with that server. So I'm like, well, future proof, I guess. Next house, buy into 2.5 gig.
Yeah, I mean, you can also go fiber and do 10 gig or 25 gig if you feel froggy.
Good. I mean, we'll see what the next house brings. This house gig is plenty. In fact, it's probably overkill for what we do.
I think Mark is running 25 gig in his house. He says no.
Dual 25 gig, you think?
Probably
2.5.
Bonded pair.
I think Mark is running lasers in his house.
They are lasers. Sharks with lasers.
Yep.
Speed of light for fiber.
Speed of light isn't slow. Relatively speaking. All right, so I have one more story to get to. I know we're right at the end of time. But the last one here is about the Steam machine. Now, I'm sure you have seen all kinds of, I don't know, people, a lot of opinions about the Steam machine. I've heard lots myself. It's too expensive. So in a nutshell, it's priced between $1,049 for the low end, $1,420 for the high end. And you hear people complaining that, well, it's not powerful enough for that price point, and they're comparing it against a PC you would build yourself. And I have to say, these ads are annoying. Go away. I'd say I get that. I understand where you're coming from, but a lot of those criteria also don't take into account the fact that this thing is small. and nearly silent, and also low power. So I guess it depends on what your priorities are for a home PC. It'd be getting a great home theater PC, but it might seem a little expensive for that. So I don't know. But real quick, it's a 6-inch AMD Linux powered cube for Steam gaming. Starts out at $1049 for the 12 gigabyte model, and $1128 if you include the Steam controller. It goes up to $1349 for the 2 terabyte model. It has a AMD Zen 4 APU with 6 cores, 12 threads, the RDNA 3 28 CU graphics, and 16 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, and 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM. So it's 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, capable of 4K gaming at 60 FPS, with FSR and other typical PC gaming control, game console features. So like the fact that you can tie it in with, it's kind of neat looking. The fact that you can have the controller powered on like you would a PS5 or whatever, I think that's pretty cool. And they're also, this is like the first thing to be released, I think, since all the memory pressure has been going on. So they're pretty much releasing at the worst possible time. So I think we're going to see the price of other consoles and things go up, because when those contracts expire and they're being renewed with current pricing, they're going to be in the same range as well. So I think the Steam Deck is getting the Steam machine, I think, is getting a bit of an unfair beating on it, but I don't know. But what are your thoughts?
I think that the issue is Steam machine is the price that it has to be because of memory prices and because of storage prices. I think the real issue is the Lord Gaben cube, as I call it, is a funny joke. Is $1,000. I think next year, or whenever Sony or Xbox goes to buy their next round of memory allocation, you're going to see your $600 to $700 PlayStation be $1,000, $1,200 because of the same problems that Valve ran into. It's unfortunate. I do still think for the form factor and the fact that, like you said, you pick up a controller, you press a button, and it turns on. It turns your TV on. I was actually quite happy to hear they did the HDMI CEC, so it can turn on your TV and change it to the input. Because that is something that literally does not work even when you script it yourself. Sometimes, very squirrely standard. I do think they did a good job with it, but I can definitely hear from the different interviews I've heard that Valve is disappointed it's at this price. So people that are getting mad at it and mad at Valve, there's not much they can do about it. If this is what they have to sell for, this is what they have to sell it for. It's too rich for me. As I said, too rich for my blood. But at the same time, like, I have spare parts everywhere, and I'm trying to make my own cube, and I do the same thing with what I have left over. But if that's the space you have and whatnot, I would have loved to have owned one and put it in my living room, but I just can't justify that much cost.
So I guess.
So I was going to say, on the cost of what we think the Sony PS6 is going to be, unless I'm mistaken, didn't I just read something about Sony have secured RAM prices for the next 5 years that are ridiculously low compared to anyone else?
It's possible. It is Sony.
I mean, they saved all that money by, getting rid of all of the movies and stuff on the PlayStation Network that people liked. So they've got all kinds of money to buy more RAM, right?
Yeah.
And also, when comparing it to a current, let's say a PS5 or an Xbox, whatever the most expensive ones are, you're then not taking into account the amount of money you have to spend to be able to run games on those platforms. Because the Steam machine, you just run Steam games. There's no monthly fee. There's no rental of the games, and that can add up to £300 or £400 a year if you go for the highest one. So that brings it back up in price.
It's true.
Well, and the Cube is just a PC at the end of the day. You could buy it and just play your GOG library by just using Proton to play your already owned games, your CD games, or whatever you want to play. Like, you can just do that. You can also, I mean, if you're a terrible, well, I'm not going to say you're a terrible person, but you can install Windows on it if you really want to. You can install BSD on it if you really want to. It's just a PC. It has SODIMM slots. It's got an NVMe slot. You can do things with it outside of just use it as a Steam cube. So it's a lot more open. I mean, yeah, there's PS5 Linux, but
and the other thing we've got to remember as well is I keep saying this when we're on the show, that we're all geeks. We can buy our own computers. We can build them and look after them ourselves. But for somebody who's just going to the shop or whatever and buying a PS5 or an Xbox or a Steam cube, you're buying the whole package. If it goes wrong, you send it back and they'll repair it in 2 years. But, not everybody can do what we're capable of doing in building their own bits and pieces. And I think J2 Cents was probably one of the worst ones. Oh, this is what the Steam machine should have been. And he went out and bought a small form factor PC. But do you want the cube, or do you want a 10-inch, 2-inch wide PC sitting next to your telly? I'd rather have the cube. It looks better.
Yeah. And I think probably the person who, while it was still a pretty melancholy video, Craft Computing had an excellent video on it. Yeah, he opened up and basically said, "I'm going to make some people very upset with what I'm about to say, but this is what I have to say." He did a very nice piece on it. I think it's unfortunate that we live in this reality, but they already sold through their allotment. It's already selling, so it's still at a price that people will pay for it. And it's a cute little cube that just sits in the corner and goes vroom and plays your games, and that's all people care about.
Yeah. And talking of a little cube that sits in your corner, that picture you had up previously, that company has been banned from making that little cover because they never asked for permission from Steam.
Yep, debrand, apparently.
It's a very debrand thing to do.
Yeah.
Troll the world with something cool and then go, oh, wait, we can't make that. Sorry.
It's too bad that they didn't work with Valve on that one, because I think that's the most clever case design. Because I mean, companion cube. I mean, come on, that's maybe they'll re-release it.
So what you do then, Nate, is you get a phone call into Valve and you 3D print us one.
I can just 3D print you one and then not talk to Valve about it. I mean, I don't live in any states that they're outlawing 3D printers, so there's also that.
Well, that's a good thing.
Not yet.
You think somebody at Dbrand is sitting there with a companion cube on the shelf? Somebody comes in like, "Hey, that looks cool," and they're like, "We don't talk about that."
well, I know they have it because I saw Linus Tech Tips has the had one, which
and to be honest with you,
pretty cool. What
I was going to say, and to be honest with you, the person who did that and said that we're going to sell them probably doesn't work at Dbrand anymore.
Who knows? They're kind of a small company. Who knows?
It could be a publicity stunt too. At the end of the day, you don't know.
That's true. Little yeah. So lots of other news topics, but we're out of time. Yeah, there's. I was going to talk about maybe CVE charts. Greg Cage says that it's a good thing. So Fedora governance changes. That'll be interesting. Anyway, so I have to maybe get some of those another time. But anyway, I'm going to move on to the housekeeping real quick. So next week is it's a distro exploration. Anybody have any distros that they wanted to they thought were interesting? Maybe check out anything.
When's the last time we did a Fedora?
I don't know. I can check.
I just recently got a chance to look at Fedora 44 KDE Plasma, and it's pretty darn good.
Looks like June of 22.
That's a long time ago. Yeah.
Wait, I might be wrong. Hang on. No, June 22. It's been a while. Want to use the old background, original background.
Not necessarily saying go with 44 Fedora, but if we do, I was impressed enough with it in virtual machine that I installed it on my laptop not because it was great, but because I wanted to find something wrong with it. And so far, I ain't found something wrong with it.
Okay.
And even more important, this is coming from somebody who has historically hated Fedora.
Yeah. Usually my only real gripe with it is getting media codecs installed, but I know they've done some amount of work to make that a little easier. I have a spare icy dock bay. I could throw it in there.
I think that's what Eric's running now, right? Fedora?
I have it on one of my computers, yeah. On the and I'm actually going to move off of it because I just keep. Right now, I'm having some kind of issue. What the heck is it? Oh, I can't connect to the internet. There's something wrong with DNS. Like it just refuses to work.
Did you try
And I
wiping out
spent
Resolve
like
Conf?
40 minutes.
Did you try wiping out Resolve Conf and then your network?
I tried. I mean, all the basic stuff, all the stuff you'd find in a 5-minute search. I'm down to like, firewall configs and like all kinds of stuff to like see what's going on. I didn't change anything. So of course that's the other thing is it's just, one of the things that Fedora's, their updates break things for me and it's not unprecedented. And I don't know. I had it on this laptop, the XPS, for about a week and it just drove me nuts because the codecs weren't working on here. And I had installed them perfectly, the driver, the whole thing, and that's just it. There's enough friction for me running it that it just gets to be annoying. And I'm like, what's the benefit here, right? I'm getting all this friction. Like, what's the payoff? And there really isn't any for me. So it's like, okay, well, moving on.
Okay, so speaking
what are you
of
running
that,
at the moment?
What's that you're running at the moment is Fedora?
No, what's Eric running on?
I have Pica OS on the XPS and then Fedora on the Latitude. Not for much longer.
no OpenSUSE though, huh?
I had it on the Latitude, and then I I have that documented somewhere. I have to see what it was. It was an impasse.
What is that impasse?
I'd have to go look. I don't know. So
I'm going to put something in the chat here I thought was really fun. I get from Brody Robinson. I saw in his video. It's called distrofighter.com. I don't know if anyone's has seen this. I know we're way over on time, but in this,
I wanted to watch it, but I haven't seen this yet.
You go through these series of questions, which I like the fake scan lines, I think, for this. But like, how'd you rate your Linux experience? Let's say I'm new to it. You use it for gaming. Don't care if it's old. Let's see. You can actually then go through. It'll do this like very fun animation. Oops, I should put this on this. SSD's fine or no preference. Let's see. Let's say traditional, and so it goes through and it does these silly little like video rounds of fighting. So you have to watch Brody Robinson's video for this, and it's really good. But anyway, I went through this a few times, and I feel like it kind of misses something. But anyway, so it has this like electric drops of refined clock slam. It's a very funny way to determine what distro you should try next. And so we're gonna do Fedora next week, but I'm thinking about maybe we'll try this out for the next time we do a distro challenge. But I think what would be kind of fun to do is maybe we should have a discussion at some point about what are the features that are killer for you or like required for you in a Linux distribution. So I don't know, it might be fun. A fun way to kind of just have a conversation around it.
Yeah, I like it.
So anyway. Yeah, so Jonas, it does in fact determine what distribution you're gonna. I mean, it helps you to choose, and so you can also fast forward through it, and then at the very end it'll give you a. Let's see. It had to go through Arch versus Tumbleweed for me, and I would say it was not. It didn't bring into account a lot of things, but it kind of gives you kind of a breakdown of the information here. So anyway, it's interesting. So something to consider. All right. So Fedora 44 next week. Also, if you have any suggestions, whether discussion suggestions, distribution, application, appetizer, poll ideas, whatever you got, send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com. I just got through my emails. I missed a bunch of important things, so sorry about that. And also the show notes will be on keepinglate.com after the fact with all the links and everything else to include that. So last call. We'll go ahead and anybody have anything? Actually, we'll just go down. Like Dale, what do you got? You just released a video on Fedora as well. We didn't talk about that at all.
Yep.
But that's cool.
A little bit of time off of work, and so far in the last 5 days, I have posted 4 videos. If I hit another video today, that'll be 5 for 5. So,
ooh,
watch me go.
You should definitely get a bigger sandwich than tonight.
That's right.
Well, cool. Thanks for being here, Eric.
Thank you.
What got going on?
That's me.
You know, if you can actually call me if you have an OpenSUSE problem. I bet you I can walk you through it. It's probably a little thing.
Is it me that's breaking up, or was it Nate?
No, it's Nate.
Oh,
okay. Sorry, brother. I didn't catch anything of what you just said.
I think it's all of you breaking up because you all froze on me. And just because my graph went down to 0 there for a little bit, I'm sure it has nothing to do with it. What I said, Eric, was, you know, if you had a tumbleweed problem, you could have called me. I would have like, if I saw Eric Adams calling me, I would answer it.
I know.
I'm like, are you the former mayor of New York? Oh, no, you're the better Eric Adams. I'm kidding.
So I actually did document it. So I will, I'll tell you at some point. But anyway, yeah.
Okay.
And I did document because I knew specifically that you'd be asking me why. But yeah, I enjoyed most of my time with Tumbleweed, and this is what happens to me. I find edge cases like it's just inevitable. I can't help it. You know, I don't set out to find friction. I just find it and spend a reasonable amount of time trying to fix something, and then I say, okay, this is the universe's way of telling me it's time to move on. So I don't have anything else really going on, but I appreciate the opportunity. So there you go.
Yeah,
Happy 4th to my fellow Americans.
Yeah, thank you. I will say I've had several rubs in different areas with all operating system. It's not like there's nothing that's quite perfect. And even though the codec issue is pretty much is fine, my biggest rub that I have, and it's not entirely the fault of OpenSUSE necessarily. It's maybe more the fault of how I use it, or Tumbleweed, I should say specifically. But because I have so many repositories, because there's some certain applications I want the actual packages of, sometimes when you roll to for the next snapshot, sometimes you have to manually go through and say, I want to keep the obsolete or switch repositories. And that can be a little bit annoying. Or what you do is you just don't update. You just wait until, wait a few days, then try it again. That tends to be the way to kind of mitigate that. Or alternatively, and this takes some fiddling, but you can actually set different priorities of the repositories, and so it'll default to the higher priority one, and then you don't have to deal with that as much. Is it the best solution? I don't know, but it's one of those things. Anyway, thought I'd throw that out there. Mark, glad to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.
Sorry, I missed you at Self.
What's that?
I missed you at Self. I didn't end up being able to go. So that's now 2 years in a row.
I did go to the Southeast Linux Fest in Charlotte, and it was okay. The new venue was nice, and the wireless was great. But of course, there were a lot of talks on AI. Yeah, and wasn't much swag. I guess AI is not producing much swag. So
we have to have a chat with Grok or something. Good.
I did get a good Rocky Linux pin and a good Alma Linux pin. So I appreciate those sponsors being there. So you didn't miss much, Nate.
Well, I like going for the nerd aspect of it. So what ended up being is like my oldest, who's most of the Linux. He was on a summer trip, and so it just didn't. And then I ended up leaving that Sunday for Florida, which obviously Eric would say bad time of year, but I liked it.
The other thing I'm up to is every week I still do the ale.org. Every Sunday, ale.org, which is Atlanta Linux Enthusiasts, have a help session, and people can just join and ask questions. It's very low key. It's not recorded, so you're not going to get embarrassed. And even if you're basic to Linux, feel free to jump in and ask some questions.
I can confirm, super nice people.
Yeah. One of the websites that we I'll give you an update. One of the websites we send new people to a lot, it was called Linux Journey, and they have now recently changed and become part of labex.io, and that's a great. They actually have some hands-on tutorials now, so it's like a little virtual machine that spins up, and you can tells you commands to run and stuff. So just a little something for you today. You may search for Linux Journey online or go to labex.io. I'm not part of that, or there's no paid thing there. It's just a great website for new people to learn about Linux. So, and again, the website for the Atlanta Linux people, that is ale.org.
You're muted.
And that will be in the show notes. Sorry, I get it again.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Nate.
All right. Excellent. Thanks for being here. Warthunder.
Yo.
What's happening?
Not a whole lot because it's been so hot, but doing okay and whatnot. Just trying to get some things cleaned up around here. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks we'll have another video on my channel, but that's kind of when I get around to it, I'll get around to it. I can't sit in here and sweat, so. And the garage is worse.
Well, you could do that, I suppose. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Zebedee Boss, the boss of the Zebs. How you doing?
Yeah, the only thing that I did this last couple of weeks was I was rummaging through some old boxes and I found my old Sony A5100 SLR. So it had all the cables, all the power supplies and everything just plugged in with the dongle that you need to put in the computer. I can't remember what it's called now. I told Nate earlier. And that's what I'm using now. So that really, really pleased me. I'm dual booting Windows and Pica OS. And Pica OS is just working like a dream at the moment. So I've run out of SSDs, so I won't be joining you next week on the Fedora because I really don't want to mess with this Pica. It's working so well at the moment. And I've just missed you guys because I haven't been around for 3 weeks. So it was really good to get back to chat with everybody again. Love it.
Yep. So sorry about that for last week. Just things happened. So what can you do? Yeah, thanks for being here. So next week, yeah, if you don't do Fedora, no big deal. You can always sharpshoot. Mike.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad you're back because I was about to get to the point where I was starting to think about ways to do myself in, like running head first into the front door as hard as I could, things like that.
I mean, that's
definitely since you're back,
an option.
It's all better. Good. Yeah, And I want to back up something Mark said. Last Sunday I went to the ALE online meeting, and those guys were absolutely class act. Very friendly, very open, very helpful. I mean, if you have time on Sunday to do it, even if you just go and hang out and listen, you're going to learn a lot. So,
do you guys use Jitsi? Or what do you use for I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, we use Jitsi, and we just use the public server, and it's fine.
Yeah, I remember it being fine. You don't have to have a camera on or anything either.
On Sunday afternoons, it's not too busy.
Yeah. I mean, but everyone there was super nice and very helpful and encouraging and no arguing. It was just amazing. I mean, it really was. So big kudos to that group.
Although I did try to talk about Windows services for Linux and got shut down.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
But that's fair. Nate, you're on mute.
So you can't win them all, I suppose. Yeah. Well, cool. I have a website called keepinglinux.com. I also have a podcast I'm on called Linux Out Loud. You can check those out. I want to thank you all for your support. However you do it, being a part of the conversation here in the Discord voice chat or YouTube stream, and all those that watch the show after the fact. Thank you for everyone involved. I want to thank everyone involved making the Linux open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back in a personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, next week, distro challenge or distro exploration of Fedora. See yous.
Bye for now.